Okay, so we have talked several times about being a musician and what that means. Do you have to read music to be a musician? Do you have to know the theory behind music to be a musician? No. There are potentially more musicians that don't read music than there are musicians who do read music in the world. So why read music? Well, as we've said, it allows you to play more music because you can read music. Think of it this way, as we've talked about storytellers and how you can be a storyteller without reading. This is like my grandmother used to tell us stories about her growing up. Well, let's take that on a little bit further than I've talked to you about in the past. My grandmother might tell me a story, and I love that story, and so then I tell my kids, and then my kids tell their kids about their great-grandmother and this story, and then they tell their kids, oh, great-great-grandmother. Pretty soon that story starts changing, doesn't it? Right? Because the way we remember it is just a little different. Pretty soon it's not the same story at all. So being able to write that story down is a really wonderful thing to be able to do. So we have the authentic story, the real story. Okay? Authenticity, authentic, the real deal. So my sister and I have talked about with my parents maybe sitting down and writing down some of these stories as we all remember hearing them, writing them down so that then they can be passed on generation to generation, and adding our own stories to those as well. So our great-great-grandkids have stories from way back when their great-great-great-grandparents were teaching music or whatever. So being able to carry that forward through history is a wonderful thing, a good reason to be able to write down stories. Well, same thing with music. Music is composed, well then if it's written down, then it gets to last just the way that it should. We also have recordings, that helps too. That's a way to record it, to notate it, but auditory, on records, things like that. So we have music from hundreds of years ago that we can still play just like it was originally written because it was written down. So that's a really good reason to learn how to read music and how to write music so that you can share that to keep music authentic. The other reason is so that you can play more music. So that would be like, I love listening to Harry Potter. And the guy who reads it, he's a fantastic storyteller. He has all these different voices he uses, and it's very enjoyable to listen to. It really keeps your attention. And he wouldn't be able to tell all of those stories all the way through, authentic to how the story was supposed to be told with all those different voices and such, if he didn't have it written down, if he didn't have a way to read it. So it allows him to be a better storyteller and to tell bigger, longer stories. So, and hey, I really enjoy that. I'm glad that he can read as a storyteller, so he can read those stories authentically and the full story. So, that being said, I can read music. Music teacher, sure hope so. But I don't always read music to make music. Sometimes I hear it and I can just play it. Let's see. Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so I don't know that I've ever played that on my trombone before. Maybe I have, but I didn't learn it by reading the music. I can just play it by ear. I know my trombone really well. I can take a melody that I know really well and just play it on the instrument because I've been playing it for a very long time. I'm very, very familiar with this. It's kind of like people who are really good at basketball. Not me so much. Really good at basketball. And when they're playing and dribbling and ball handling, it feels like it's a part of them. They don't even think about it. You can see, of course I grew up with Michael Jordan, and wow, I mean, that was just a part of him. And he grips the ball and puts it right in, but that's it. He's not even thinking about how to handle the ball. It's just so natural. Well, that's how the trombone has become for me. It's almost like just singing, using my voice, mostly. So, being a musician, it's not all about reading music, but reading music is important. Next week, I'm going to be doing a lesson for all 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade on creating rhythmic sounds with your family. Drumming with your family without maybe drums in your house. Now, some of you may have drums and you can use them, but we're going to find different objects. We did a little bit of this last year at the end of the year, and so next week we're going to explore that a little bit more, using notation and all that kind of stuff. Being able to play the drum. Yes, I can read rhythms on drums, but mostly when I'm doing drumming, when I drum with friends in drum circles and things like that, which is a lot of fun, you just kind of make it up at the spot based on stuff that you already know just as a musician. Several friends. I've taken a few classes, and then I just kind of played around on it a lot. So I can create sounds that are pleasing enough and that I enjoy. I'm certainly not an African drummer. My friend Pete Santucci, he's an African drummer. He lives down in Marin, and he's studied African drumming a lot from other instructors who are African drummers. And he can get some amazing sounds. The two sounds that I can get, clearly are the bass and then the edge tones. There's a slap and then the edge, and he can actually get two different sounds out of the edge really clearly, and it's really neat how he's able to pull that out of the drum. So for me, I can get those two sounds, and that's what I kind of focus on when I'm playing, are those sounds. And then you can do some other things with those sounds, kind of playing around with the quality of the instrument. My friend Kofi Bologno is an African drum instructor and dance teacher over in Ghana in Africa. And he came over here to California for some classes. I met him there. I took some of his classes, and just enough for him to kind of show me the basics of African drumming. Now, in Africa, when they're teaching, not every single African drummer teaches this way, but the traditional way of teaching is to use words to represent where your hands go. So you might say dun, goon, dun and goon, left hand, right hand in the bass, dun, goon, and then da, ga for the edges, da and ga. So you'd say dun, dun, goon, da, ga, dun, da, ga, to tell you where to place your hands. And a really good African drummer and instructor, the instructor could say, all right, play this, dun, ga, and be able to say all of these things, and the people would be able to then play it. So that is, you're not using notation, you're using your just auditory to speak the rhythms. And then you learn these rhythms, and you learn these traditional rhythms, and you practice them over and over, and so this rhythm or that rhythm, I'm going to play rhythm C, I'm going to play rhythm D, I'm going to play rhythm X, and you would know these rhythms because you've played them for so long, so you're committing to memory. You're not writing it down. Now, there are a lot of instructors who are writing it down as well for us, but that's not always the case. still. Like a lot of it's still not being written down. So my friend Kofi, in fact, he is still going around and learning more and more of these other rhythms that maybe he's not as familiar with, and he's notating it out so that it will last and stay as authentic as possible to the original that's been around for thousands of years, even though we know that that has changed some. So that's the concept. So then you can take rhythms that we are familiar with and maybe work the opposite way. We can take this rhythm where we know that this is, go ahead and say the rhythm with me. Ready? 2, ready, and. Do, day, do, day, do. Now the do, day, do doesn't tell you where to put your hands. That's us speaking the rhythms, figuring out where the downbeat is. Do, 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 do. Knowing that this is the downbeat, this is the upbeat because that's the second half of the beat. Downbeat, downbeat, second half of the beat because they're the small cups, right? First and second half. 2 notes on the same beat. And then our other beat on beat 4, doon. So it's doon, 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 doon. We have doon, do, 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 do. And then do, day, or do, day, do, day, do. Do, day, do, day, do. Right? So that's speaking the rhythms. But then if we want to say where our hands should go, we could say doon, ga, doon. That would be left hand on the bass. Doon, ga, not goon, but ga is the edge. Doon, ga, doon. Then da, ga, doon. So that would be doon, ga, doon, da, ga, doon, doon, ga, doon, da, ga, doon, da, ga, doon. So you've taken the rhythm and then placed your hand where you want that sound out of the drum. That would then be applicable to recorders, right? So we could take our recorder. There it is. This. And we could say, now we've learned 2 notes so far. We've learned B, that's the thumb, and remember it's your left hand on top. Remember we're backwards from each other. Left hand on top. Please make sure your left hand is on top. Very important. Do not be lazy and say, oh, I just want to do my right hand. Well, then you're playing it wrong and you're going to learn incorrectly and you'll never really be able to play the recorder. Trust me, I've been doing it for a while. I'm telling you can't do it that way. Okay, so thumb, first finger on top, thumb in the back. That's your B. And then if you add the second finger, that's A and B. A, B, A, B, 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 A. Right, okay, so we could say, I would like to play the first note on A. And let's say the next one is going to be A as well. This one's going to be B. Can you see that well enough on your screen? And then let's go A, B, A. Okay, so that will be then A, B, A, B, A. So then we have A, B, then A, and B, and A. Okay, so that's just a matter of where we put our fingers. Super simple. Then we take that rhythm, do, day, do, day, do. Can you say it twice with me, please? Ready? And do, day, do, day, do. Now I'm going to play the notes that we've assigned to each of these notes, to each of these cups for the rhythm. You're going to speak do, day, do, day, do twice while I play the notes. Okay? Let's try it together. 2, ready, and. Okay? So that's how it works. You have the rhythm, the do, day, do, or do, day, do, do. Let's go ahead and sign that B there, A there, and that B there. So do, day, do. Right? So do, day, do. And you've assigned which finger goes on each note. Okay, and that's our pitch. And we're going to explore that a little bit more next week. Okay, so now let's talk about recorder. The notation, do not be in a rush to feel like you need to start learning how to read now. Recorders and books are in the mail tomorrow night or the next day. They are saying that it's going to potentially take up to a week, so next Wednesday or Thursday is when they're going to be delivered, and then we'll be able to get all the recorders and all the books out to everybody. So don't be in a hurry. And if you don't have your recorder yet, that's okay. This is a small part of our curriculum right now. You'll catch up really fast. We're not moving very quickly, so please don't feel rushed. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is the second week or third week that he's using the recorder, I'm getting so far. No, we're not moving that fast, okay? Everything that you're hearing me say right now, it's nothing really that new. Airstream, this stuff, you can apply that. That's not anything to worry about, okay? So be patient. And again, remember, if you need a recorder, if you are just struggling financially, hey, we're in the middle of this pandemic, and I know some of us are just trying to make ends meet. So if you need help, please just make sure your parents just reach out to me, email me, and say, hey, I heard you can get us a recorder from the school and a book from the school. For those who are in financial need, we don't have enough to just start handing out to everybody. Otherwise, that's what we would have done. But we do have a few extra for people who can't afford to buy the book and the recorder. There's some people that are in that situation. I have been in that situation when I was a kid and as an adult. So believe it or not, even every penny counts. I understand how that feels. So please reach out to me if you need help. So let's talk about recorders, how to make a good sound. And that's really, again, where it starts. The most important thing is that good sound. And then we'll start learning songs with that good sound. All right, so the lips rest on the mouthpiece, and this is going to be some review that stuff we've already talked about. The lips rest on the mouthpiece, and then a steady stream of air. And then you stop that steady stream of air. It's steady all the way from the start to the end, okay? And if you could think of it as like some color coming out, maybe it's pink or purple or blue that's coming out as you're playing, and then you release that and you can see that color fading away from you, okay? That's a nice way to think of it, to visualize that sound that we want. Now you start the sound with the tip of your tongue, but just by saying two. Now you're not going to say two in your instrument because that would sound like this. Two. Well, we don't want to say that because now we're adding our voice to the voice of the instrument. So we're going to say two without our voice. So it's going to sound like this. And remember, it's not about your tongue, it's about the breath, about the airstream. Really, we want that blowing, but you start it by just tapping the tip of your tongue, just saying to release it. Easy enough, it sounds like. Sometimes we have a hard time with that. It's okay if you need to practice a little bit. Once you get it, it's like, oh, that's what you meant. Okay, now I got it. All right? Can you hear my tongue starting that? The difference is if I don't use my tongue to go to open up the sound, then it would sound like this. Foo, foo. We'll never get as clean a sound as using our tongue. It's called articulation, how we use our tongue when we're playing as musicians, as instrumentalists, okay? That two, that's called articulation. Then we tap our tongue to tap the rhythm. So if it's this rhythm, do-day, do-day, do. Right? So practice with just those two notes still. I did have a couple submissions from students saying, Mr. Jacks, how is this? It's like, okay, well, the airstream's good. It was steady stream of air. But then we're just wiggling our fingers around, and a lot of those aren't even notes. So the way that the instrument works, the recorder, that doesn't really change the pitch much, does it? It bends it just a little bit, but it doesn't change it to a different note. The way that the instrument works, and all instruments work, is the length of the instrument, if it's longer or shorter. So right now, as I'm playing, the sound is coming out of this next hole on the instrument. So it's really just this long. So as I add fingers, it's making the instrument longer. and thus lowered, just like on a trombone. As I add length, it drops the pitch. Okay? So that's as far as we're going to go with recorders today. We're going to end with doing a little body percussion together and a little solfege, just to make sure that we have this still going. So join with me. Here we go. Good. Add two more. Add two more. And stop. Now, reason we still want to keep working on that together, and I still want you to be practicing that, is so that you feel confident and comfortable with it, so that when we are able to be back in person, I can have different parts in the class going at the same time. That'll really help. All right, now, after me. Do, re, do. My turn. Do, re, mi, your turn. My turn. Mi, mi, so, so, your turn. So, so, fa, mi, your turn. My turn. Mi, mi, fa, sol, la, so. So, so, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so there we go. And I hope that you're having a really good week. There's one more video of just some a little snippet of an ensemble I wanted you to see to kind of get you inspired for instruments in the future. Next week, we'll be back to a couple different videos. I am going to try to assign all the videos into one assignment so that your emails aren't exploding into 10 different notifications. My dear, lovely, beloved Bree wants to say hello. This is Bree. She's in 4th grade, and she might be helping me with a few of the videos next week. All right. Love you. See you. Bye.